Hello there! Today's project is redesigning my 6 main and oldest original characters. Kind of. You see, I won't actually be changing these designs on the screen, like at all. However, for the sake of the video, and because I don't really like these drawings anymore, I drew new PNGs. But worry not, for I did not clickbait you. These designs are still technically redesigns of these from 2023. According to my records, I started developing the new designs mid-2024 and finished the official PNGs in 2025, so that shows you how much I've been drawing these past 2 years. Before these character sheets, the designs of my OCs was all over the place, because the story was all over the place. I'm now going to attempt to explain what I like to call the meta-timeline of my OCs, aka how they and their story evolved over these past 8 whole years. 2017. I got my first sketchbook and immediately started drawing gay people. First iteration of the characters had them in a very vague fantasy setting, like AFMA Minecraft Diaries. 2018, I added more gay people and decided to put them in a school, like AFMA Phoenix Drop High. At some point I listened to the song Bloodwater and decided to make new lore for my characters based on it. I don't remember if it was to replace the old story or if this was a separate thing, but the lore from that tangent and the school story merged and twisted into a new thing I called The Hunters, which begins the me taking the story seriously era, and I start writing an actual draft of the story, and not just pure fantasy lore about demons and vampires. This first draft morphed very slowly into what the story is today. Noxas, final mix. Name pending. I won't go very deep into the story of Noxas, mostly because I find it hard to explain. Right now, it's a sludge of disjointed scenes and ideas that I keep reworking and rewriting. That is to say, I'm a third through the script and progress is very, very slow. I also don't know how much I want to say about it, and since I'll be done writing whenever JoJo Part 7 gets animated, whenever JoJo Part 8 gets animated, I want to keep as much of it to myself. What I can tell you is the elevator pitch I've been trying to nail down, except the elevator is taking forever and can the doors please open faster? So, Noxas is a fantasy-ish, horror-ish, slice-of-life comic set in 2004, but with more recent technology. And no cars, because I don't want to draw cars. Most or all of it takes place in a town called Nox and follows the brothers Clyde and Seth just trying to live there. It has JoJo-like battles in the sense that it's more about finding out what the enemy's ability is and outsmarting them than actual combat, because I don't want to draw actual combat. Themes include fate, in the context of fiction and fictional characters, death, in the context of fiction and fictional characters, identity, in the context of fiction and fictional characters, and hope. Also, everyone's queer. How was that? Did you find it interesting? Hopefully, this will be the last iteration of this story. Notice how I say this story. If you think I'm done with these characters after this, oh baby. All these earlier versions of the story, they're now alternate universes. Why? Because I was an Undertale kid. Next question. There's also new AUs and also alternate timelines of Noxas specifically. And there's also a sequel. So I have like 50 different versions of each OC, because obviously the characters in each AU are separate beings from each other. And every time I make a change in the story that makes a new AU, which means a new version of all the OCs in that story. And also Roy is there. There's only one of him, he just changes clothes. And all of that is somewhat relevant to Noxas, which is the designs we'll be talking about today. Did you get all that? No? Great. On to the first character.
He's gay, but he has a special connection to classical music. There's many things that are interesting about it.
Clyde here is the quote-unquote main character of Noxas. To my mind, all 6 of the characters in this video are the quote-unquote main characters. The story starts with him and his brother moving to the town/city Nox, a place way up north, like the Arctic North. Do you see the problem with these old designs? These are not Sub-Zero fits, and also they're boring. When making the new designs, I kept the vibes and colors, and basically made everything louder and more complicated and more fashion. For Clyde, I wanted to keep his hair the same, with the front longy bits. He's had them for a very long time, so I was kind of attached to them, but he has an Ushanka now, and the ear flaps overlapped with the hair weirdly. I also wanted to give him a longer piece of braided hair to match Seth, so I cut them off. Recently, I collected every single drawing of my OCs, like, ever, and counted how many times I drew each one of them. Clyde is the second most drawn, which is not surprising. I love drawing him. Half his face is covered, it's great. Can you not? Satan. What are you... Satan. Stop it. Anyway, half his face is covered, it's great. I hate drawing eyes. Isn't that right, Satan? Uh-huh. She agrees with me. His bangs do mean that he can't really see, which is fine, because he can't see anyway. He's blind, kinda. He can see, but not through his eyes. Basically, there's 4 different types of people in this world, /story/setting, I don't know what to call it. Vampires, werewolves, healers, and demons. All of them have different type abilities a person of that type can have. Clyde is a demon, and one of the demon type abilities is a kind of night vision that can also just be used as vision. It's called Third Eye. The way I imagine it is a 360 view around your person where you can only see the outline of things in a certain radius. Kind of like a video game with no textures or lighting. So Clyde can see where things are, but none of the detail, like faces or small cracks in the walls or the texture of something, unless he's touched the object or focuses on that one area to really study it. He does this for faces of people he's close to, just to be able to read their expressions more clearly. Using abilities doesn't take an insignificant amount of energy, so he probably should still have some sort of aid, especially when it snows. There's just so many outlines it becomes a whole bunch of noise. But he was just never given anything. I don't think he'd use one even if he was. He's used to just having the ability. I struggled with the most underlayer of his clothes, especially the pants. I wanted them to be more interesting than just white. But I also wanted the underlayer to be light to contrast Seth's and Ash's darker designs, so I just kept them plain white. I still like the color block design of his shirt. In the new design I made it a turtleneck crop top. Crop tops, turtleneck suits, and fur are going to be big themes for all these designs. I also gave him a tie, because ties are cool and awesome. In like 2020, I did designs where I JoJo-fied my characters. And I gave Clyde an Ushanka, because I really liked and still really like Ushankas. I thought it really suited him. I don't know why it took me so long to just give him one normally. I put buttons on the flap, as one of the elements of Clyde's design is buttons for some reason. Probably because my favorite part of his old design was the cardigan and it had chunky buttons. For his most outer layer, I gave him a coat inspired by parka, which are traditional coats worn by Inuit people. I took inspiration from both old and modern examples, the big staple being the fur hood. I also like the fur trim on the cuffs and bottom edge. I don't know why I made fur something I wanted in each design, but I did, and it looks good. Some parkas have a patterned border on the bottom, and I liked that, so I did a border too, but wider and on the sleeves too. The pattern will be gingham to match the shirt, and to match the shirt I made the top section on one of the front panels also gingham. From what I've seen, most modern parkers have a zipper, but I did buttons, because cardigan. I wanted him to have aspects of traditional clothing from our world, not just because it looks cool, but because it's traditional in universe too. He's originally from the continent Noxas on, as are most demons, so parka-like coats are either part of traditional demon outfits or generally traditional to the region, probably both. Just to be very clear, demons aren't supernatural or evil or anything like that in universe, they're just people. I called this kind of human demons because, the coloring and rendering style I was trying to go for is inspired by Goose Gully. It's just peak, I fear. It didn't quite turn out like how I wanted it, but I still like how everything turned out. I'm just not very good at picking shading colors. I don't go dark enough for the style I want. I tried fighting it this time and it kinda worked, but again, not exactly what I was imagining. You can't see them in any of the renders, but his socks do have music notes on them. One of his hobbies is collecting vinyls and general music listening. He also likes dancing, but he has no one else to dance with other than himself. Seth for sure isn't. Luckily, he can dance with himself. In addition to type abilities, there are also special abilities. These are your normal character-specific superpowers like stands or quirks. His special power is that he can turn his skin into stone. He can also make one stone clone of himself for a few minutes, which he mostly uses to dance with. That first part might seem a little familiar. Yeah, so he's Kirishima, BNHA. I'm kidding. But only a little. I used to be in the My Hero Academia Circle of Hell, more specifically the Bakushima section. You'll meet Bakugo in a bit, but to be honest, other than Clyde's ability and dynamic with a certain white-haired guy, him and Kirishima aren't very similar personality-wise. Who he is similar to, both in design and personality, is Vlad from AFMAL. I was not subtle. Clyde used to be very much beautiful cinema roll, too good for this world, too pure, coded. Like shy and quiet and sweet and cute and kind and easily flustered and extremely infantilized, etc, etc. Surface level he can still come across as that, but he's developed a certain edge. He's a pretty strict pacifist in that he will avoid hurting someone at almost any cost, but he also just hates himself. Those things are connected. He's friendly and a little quiet, while still being outgoing and being able to act with confidence and determination in most situations. He's also pretty good at acting, as well as reading people and situations, which is where some of that confidence comes from, be it real or fake. Other info about him that I didn't know how to work into the script. He has a tooth gap, but usually he smiles with a closed mouth so you can't see it often. He has no scars other than a giant X slash on the side of his torso. Aside from third eye, he doesn't have access to any other type abilities. He's existed for a little less than 300 years, but due to Demon's slower aging and other circumstances, he's considered to be a young adult in his early 20s. And when he found out what an iPod was, he went crazy. Pause. Here are his finished drawings. I like how they turned out, though I think the fur bits could be a bit bigger and fluffier, especially the hood. Even so, they should function well as reference sheets for the future. You may be wondering, what are the chains? Why are you not addressing the chains? The chains are a fashion statement. I don't have a favorite OC, but Seth is my oldest OC, so he holds a special place in my brain. I just really like to psychologically torture him, and physically. He's missing a few legs and fingers, and memories. Right off the bat, very big disclaimer that I don't know how prosthetics work in real life. I'm invoking the rule of cool for his design, though his prosthetics do technically work in universe, for him, specifically. Seth is Clyde's older brother, so he's also a demon. Demons have more type abilities than just third eye. Here I'll put a list up on screen. The important one right now for Seth is levitation. For most demons, this means just being able to levitate things they touch, but Seth can also levitate himself because he's cool and awesome like that. He can basically fly, so he really doesn't need legs in the first place, but it would probably scare people if there was some guy just flying, or ominously gliding across the floor like a nun on Heelys. So he has prosthetics he can puppet with the levitate ability to make it look like he's walking. Is it very unnecessary for him to have to do that? Yes. Please refer back to me enjoying inconveniencing him. They can still support him when he's standing still, so he does have a cane to help with balancing. Sometimes I do imagine him in a wheelchair, but in the actual story I probably won't draw him using one. I want him to be intimidating, and his stature is a very important aspect of that. I had some trouble with the hands, so I did trace them from a picture I took of my own hand. I do this pretty often, even though I am a hand drawing enjoyer. He has a gash on his face, no particular reason, just for fun. Technically it should be bleeding, we're going to ignore that. Demons are unique in that they actually have two forms. Their human form, where they look like the other types, and their demon form, where they look less like the other types. Both are their quote-unquote true forms, but most have a preference for one or the other. But even if someone prefers the demon form, demons usually go with the human one, because, racism. Clyde's demon form is out of commission right now. Got a little damaged. And Seth is, well, he kinda got stuck between them. When I was designing him, I wanted him to literally be split down the middle. Like the demon form side would have multiple arms and eyes, have horns, and be generally bigger. So that side would be shifted up because Seth's demon form is taller than his human one. And that would just completely fuck up his spine and posture. I couldn't draw it in a way that made it come across the way I wanted it to, so I ended up doing more of a mix instead of a split. All that to say that he has tiny horns and black sclera now. And the black sclera are totally not to make him look more like Kakuzu, my favorite guy. No, why would you even suggest that? I might have made his shoes a little too small. Perchance. Too late to change that now. He also gets a tie. As I mentioned, the ties do mean something. So basically there's this government organization called SAIU, Special Ability Investigation Unit, and they deal with, as their name suggests, special abilities. They not only research and cultivate special abilities, they also handle criminal cases where the person has a very dangerous or difficult to contain ability. They also have the Demon Reintegration Program, which Seth and Clyde are a part of, and Seth works for them as a researcher. He also has chains, because even if he and Clyde have a somewhat strained and distant relationship, he still supports his little brother's fashion choices. His old design is just a suit. I love suits, so I had to keep it for the new one. For a while he had a tank top, like that was his whole design. He also used to be orange. Each of my OCs is a different color. These three have always been the same, but Seth, Laz, and Steph have switched colors. There's something about that. They're the original trio, and they swap colors. So he has a scoliosis brace, because he has scoliosis due to the whole stuck between two bodies thing. But from what I understand, braces are more of a preventative measure to stop it from getting worse, usually during childhood. At least the rigid braces are for that, which is what I drew. Though braces can also be used for support, so that's what I'm going to say it's for. Also, rule of cool. Of course he has to have fur somewhere too. I did half and half to call back to the two forms thing. So if Clyde is Vlad, which AFMO character is Seth based on? Well, I used to be a pretty avid Garth shipper, which is Garth and Lawrence, and Lazuli is obviously Lawrence, and Vlad is Garth's brother, so obviously Seth is, he's obviously, I'm 90% sure Seth is Aaron. Look, I may or may not be a Garth hater. The Zero Alpha fans watching this right now must be fuming. Seth's original personality is kind of a mix of the Diaries version of Aaron and Garth, a loner outsider with anger management issues. Otherwise, Seth isn't consciously based on anyone else, and if anyone mentions Zero Kamakura, I'm killing myself. His personality now is a lot more mellowed out, less anger and more nothing, I guess. Confusion? He doesn't know what's going on, man. Melancholic is how I'd describe his general vibe in one word. He longs for things he can't fully remember, strangely stuck in the past even though he doesn't really have one. It makes him come across as aloof or not fully present, and like a pathetic wet cat that just experienced the worst thing in its life, a bath. He showers, just to clarify. Sometimes. Not very often. When he needs to, you know, his eyes convey the same sadness as the eyes of a ferret, where you're not entirely sure what they're looking at, or if they're seeing anything in the first place with their tiny pea brains. Not to say that his entire personality is being depressed in a corner. I don't particularly find characters like that super compelling. You gotta have contrast within a character, you know? So he also likes reading books, and being a bit of a bitch. He can be a little silly, a little goofy, a little bratty if you will. He can also be a bit of a prankster. From time to time he likes scaring people, just a little. Which is funny, because usually he tries really hard not to scare people. His appearance can make people suspicious of him already. Due to the whole body stuck situation, his voice is slightly messed up, and by slightly I mean very. It's cracked and scratchy, and sounds pretty painful, like he's constantly wheezing and really has to push it out. The best way I can show what I mean is with a layered voice, like FNAF Ultimate Custom Night Vengeful Spirit Deathlines.
He tried to release us, but I'm not gonna let that happen.
I have always been hiding in your shadow.
It probably is painful, but the main reason he chooses not to speak is because it unsettles people when he does. Problem: he's a yapper. Solution: sign language. I don't know any sign languages, though I want to learn German Sign Language. So far, I've used ASL in the very few drawings of him speaking, but if I'd learned German Sign Language before starting the series, I'll use that. Another problem. He's missing some fingers. Another solution. Pull up the type abilities again. Shadow Control or whatever I named it. As the name implies, with it he can control shadows, and also make them, kinda. Here it's easier to see with Kora. Their arm is made from shadows, and shadows are like a thing in my universe, like an element or a gas. I don't know what to call it. Seth can basically make floating hands that he uses to sign with. Other fun facts about him. Apparently allergic to carrots. I say apparently because I also did not know this until I went through my old art recently. He's deaf, which is another reason he primarily uses sign language. He has hearing aids now, but it's more of a recent thing for him. He carries around a journal with things that he wants to remember in it, mostly people he's met. It doesn't work particularly well when he hasn't seen that person in a while. Due to circumstances, no one knows or can guess how old he is. The only thing that's for sure known is that he's physically fully developed, which means he's existed for at least 600 years, and should be middle-aged, in the 40 to 60 range. Though he's only been conscious for less than 30 years, and anyone who knows him well will tell you that it's more accurate to describe him as in his late 20s. He has a special ability, and I won't tell you what it is. And I made him taller than the average door height to purposely inconvenience him. Oh, and he has a stab wound that cannot be healed and will keep bleeding forever, just like the rest of his wounds. And here are his finished drawings. He's really hard for me to draw right, which is funny because he's my OC and I draw him the most. But this time I think I got close.
You know that feeling when you're like underwater and it goes up your nose and you're like, and it feels like you're drowning? I just feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, all the time, Aaron.
Lazuli is also my oldest OC, along with Seth. Fellas, is it gay to be drawn on the same day and created for each other? My friend group does PowerPoint nights at least once a year, and this time I had the brilliant idea of introducing my OCs by showing them every single drawing of them. Some of my friends very much did not like the name Lazuli Lapis. Lapis Lazuli would be fine, or Lazuli with a different last name, but Lazuli Lapis wasn't acceptable. Because they're nerds. I decided his last name when I was 14 as a placeholder because I didn't like it either, and then I never changed it and now I'm attached to it. So cry about it. All of my OCs have weird name shenanigans. Like, for a while, I spelled Clyde like Clyde. No, I don't know why. The brother's last name, Nevermann, has a funny origin too. I was talking to my cousin about my OCs, and I think I mentioned that Seth doesn't have a last name yet. And she went, LOL, Seth Nevermann. And then I went, LOL, Seth Nevermann. And then she said, don't actually do that. And then I actually did that. Back to Laz. Here is his old design. It's really strange how boring these old designs look now. I honestly didn't change his that much. I kept basically everything, down to the pins on his hat. In this drawing of his old design, he does have long hair, because these designs are for the beginning of the story. Later he chops it off. He still has longer hair at the beginning. Now, I just decided to draw him the way he looks the majority of the time. Another difference is that I gave him glasses. They fit him so well. Wild I didn't give him glasses before. Probably because glasses are annoying to draw. Eyes have some vague meaning in Noxas, so I wanted to obscure at least one eye on everyone, and I did that mostly with glasses. If you're struggling with a design, add glasses. They will fix all your problems, trust. Lazuli's design came together so easily, it was a one and done. Again, probably because I didn't change much. I already liked all the elements of his old design, and I knew how I wanted to elevate them. His pants are still brown pants with patches, but I added these stripe sections to have more stripes than just the one on his shirt. I also got rid of the blue patches. I think they looked fine, but other than his eyes, he doesn't really have any connection to blue, and no one else's design has a different color in it. other than yellow, which is kind of the universal accent color. His striped shirt is now a crop top, because I like crop tops. It also makes his undershirt more visible, which is yellow. I like that it makes his color more apparent. He wears gloves basically 24/7. You'll see it better when I color it, but that's because his palms are scarred, like he keeps burning them. He's a healer, which means he can heal people, obviously. And he has a condition some healers have, where it burns them when they heal themselves or when they use it too much. Though extreme overuse can also have this effect even if the person doesn't have this condition, so it's not uncommon for healer doctors or nurses to have some scarring. I made his hat long, I thought it was fun, and it gives him some movement. His jacket has a patchwork look. It ties back to the patches on his pants. It's an evolution of his old jacket. I don't know what I was thinking with these color choices. It also has the obligatory fur. He doesn't have much fur in his design. I didn't know where else to put it, so I just left it at that. I didn't think one little jacket was warm enough, so I gave him a lab coat. Why does he have one of those? No clue. He could have it because of his nurse job. He's a part-time school nurse, but I don't think school nurses wear lab coats. I wouldn't know. We didn't have one at my school. He probably permanently borrowed it from the chemistry department. He has a medical cross pin on it, like the one on his hat. In universe, it's to show that he's certified to heal people. He's also a librarian at the school library, though it's also just a regular library anyone can use. It's where him and Seth meet, like a little meet-cute where they bump into each other and the books fly everywhere and they pick up the books together and Seth kind of blackmails Slaz into letting him use the employee break room. You know, the classic situation. So remember when I said Lazuli is obviously Lawrence? This is half true. As you know, he's a healer. You know who else has healing powers? Aphmau. I have zero original thoughts. Laz used to be a lot more like Lawrence, and by that I mean flirtatious and nothing else. He can still be a little flirty, but it's not his only personality trait anymore, or his most defining. I'd say his most significant traits are being extremely laid back and having an insatiable curiosity. Sort of inspired by L Death Note. All my characters are influenced by Death Note. He's kind of like if Light and L had a child and it had some morals by some miracle. Like Sans Undertale if you weren't depressed. Is this a good time to mention that of my characters, he's the most like me? You know, short. I used to have what I call the Laz curse, where I drew him with a new hairstyle and then eventually got it myself. All I'm saying is that I hope it doesn't happen this time. Other cool facts about him. He's a bit of a gamer. Specifically into technical Minecraft because I've been watching too much Hermitcraft. He's also generally into computers, like hacking and stuff. I was really into Metal Gear Solid when I redesigned him, can you tell? Anyway, he's 23 and lives with his father. Healers age regularly and have the same life expectancy as we do, so about 80. A police officer has one-sided beef with him, purely based off vibes. And he doesn't have a special ability, but he does have a gun. This is only somewhat related to the police beef. And here are his drawings. I don't fully like the shape of a lab coat, but I think the rest turned out great. Kinda cooked with this design.
I kind of enjoy having DOMs, okay? I'm sorry. Delayed onset muscle soreness. It's from, it's not a sex term. I didn't say sex warning.
Achilles is my obligatory white-haired guy that has a homoerotic situationship with the main character, and big religious guilt. But I like to think he's unique. Yes, his name is spelled with an I, and yes, I pronounce it Achilles, and yes, his last name is stolen from the guy I have as my phone background, Akihiko Sanada Persona 3. Moving on. You've probably noticed that I do a very rough sketch in a different file and drag in a screenshot of that. I did this so I could sketch them next to each other for height comparison and proportions and poses, etc, etc. I did the poses based on their personalities without thinking about the outfit. So Achilles got like the worst possible pose to show off his design, or maybe he has the worst possible design for his personality. I do imagine him crossing his arms a lot. His old design has a very vague preppy vibe, and I thought that fit him well, even though if we're going with high school stereotypes, he's more of a jock. Ash wears this compression shirt, or just thin turtleneck underneath everything. Drawing all the little folds and rolls of a tight piece of clothing was very fun. Drawing folds in general is fun. The shapes are satisfying to me. I don't think I even do them right most of the time. Anyway, the shirt stays on all the time. He will not take it off. He probably showers with it on and owns like 20 of them. He totally doesn't have body image issues. What are you talking about? It's fine, he gets over it. I'm fucking lying, he gets worse. His shoes probably aren't the most practical for all the snow and ice the people in Nox have to deal with, but neither are Lazuli's. None of these outfits are particularly practical. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. His pants are, pants. I don't know how the closure in the front works, but I don't have to. At least until I make his doll and then I have to pattern them. Ash's hair and face have basically stayed exactly the same since his inception. Definitely the most consistent of my OCs. And I very barely changed them for this design. His hair is slightly less fluffy and his nose might be a little flatter. It's a little sad that with the new haircut his eyebrows are more hidden. I think they give him something unique with how arched they are, and without them he doesn't really look like himself to me. I gave him lots of piercings. He used to just have 3 dots on each ear, as a reference to Dio Brando. Ash is a vampire, Dio's a vampire. You get it, it's cute, it's croquet. And that turned into me sometimes drawing Ash with more earrings, which then gave me the idea to just add more metal. Originally these designs were supposed to be me over-designing my OCs, inspired by this Lavender Town video, which is why these designs are so complicated, at least for me. I kind of want to still do a video like that. Don't tell anyone, but these designs are starting to look boring to me. The piercings also give him more of an alternative look. He had a very mild, rebellious / self-discovery phase after he moved in with his mother. And all his friends are also somewhat alt. They probably got piercings together. His friend group really helped him loosen up and integrate into regular life. They're nice like that. I really need to redesign them. I call the group the Bruno Gang, but I killed Bruno, so maybe I shouldn't call them that anymore. I gave him a dress shirt with a pointy hem and cuffs, because he's a vampire, if you couldn't tell from the blinding complexion and the fact that I said he was like a minute ago. Again, worst pose for those cuffs. I was inspired by a shirt on Pinterest. I'll put it on screen if I saved it. I got a lot of things from Pinterest for all the designs. I joked about it like 2 seconds ago, but vampires in my story aren't actually all pale as hell, because they don't get one shot by the sun. Ash is just like that. They do get sunburnt more easily and have more sensitive eyes, but sunscreen and sunglasses exist, so it's not that big of a deal. They also aren't immortal, so great news, you can kill them normally, no wooden stakes required. Vampires do still have to drink blood. It's a normal everyday thing. There's little Capri Sun bags at every store. Usually animal blood, like from pigs or chickens or whatever else animal or gets killed for meat. I mean, the animal doesn't have to be killed to get blood. There's probably more blood consumption than meat consumption. If you're rich, you get human blood. Yum. Well, anyone can get human blood if they have someone they trust. Usually a family member or a close friend or partner. Basically anyone that they know doesn't have a disease and currently has enough blood. It's generally frowned upon to drink from someone that's bleeding out on the floor or something. Look, I don't know in what situation someone wouldn't have enough blood, I'm just saying shit. The jabot is entirely unnecessary and, once again, worst fucking pose. But it does enhance the asshole rich kid vibes. To be clear, he's not a rich kid, but he is an asshole. He has 2 pairs of glasses, reading glasses because he's fucking blind, and sunglasses because of the aforementioned sensitive eyes. I was going to only give him sunglasses, but it really wouldn't make sense for him to wear them all the time. Since they're so far north and the story takes place during winter months, it would be dark for most of the day. And he doesn't have night vision, so he just wouldn't be able to see. And most scenes are inside. Not that you can't wear sunglasses inside. Power move. You do you, bestie. But it's still a little impractical. So I had to give him regular glasses to keep his eyes covered. His jacket. Ooh, his jacket. I struggled with it while designing it and while drawing this drawing. I had no idea how to draw the side of it. I changed the back like 5 times. Can't wait to pattern this for the doll, haha. I almost gave him more of a cape with a high flared collar, you know, vampire. I thought it was a little too much. I did add spikes to the bottom to match the ones from his shirt cuffs that are sticking out, and to remind you that he's a vampire, just in case you forgot. I landed on a short back for the jacket. I imagined it to be long, but I like that it mirrors the front of it. Chains on glasses are so peak. Burnwood made some for themselves recently, and it looks fantastic. I'm a little jealous. I need to make some for myself. You may have noticed that he's the only one without fur. Very observant. Good job. This has some sort of meaning, probably. Look, I'm just the character designer and creator. I don't know everything. Welcome back to everyone's favorite game show. Which AFMA character is this OC based on? Here are your 3 options. I'll give you one guess. Yeah, it's Travis. He's based on Travis, Mr. PM Seymour himself. Until this redesign, he had green eyes, and I really liked the way they looked. White hair and green eyes is nice, you know? I wanted to keep them, but the colors, it didn't work. I had to give him Gojo eyes. I had no other choice. Ash used to not just look like Travis, but also someone acted like him, which is not a top 10 personality. Travis was the pervert TM character because AFMA was very inspired by anime. He was very flirtatious and outgoing and might grope the female characters if he isn't beat up, you know. There's more to his character, but that's what I remember most. Ash was the flirty popular guy, though much less pervy, and also not interested in women. So how did we get from that to this? Remember when I said you'll meet Bakugo later? This is Bakugo. The AFMO to BNHA to JoJo pipeline is crazy, let me tell you. I don't exactly know when the switch happened, but I don't remember a time where there was a mix of flirty Achilles and angry Achilles. It was just this personality and then this personality. Oh my god, wait. I had a revelation that I can't talk about. Being a Bakugo clone means that he does have some amount of anger issues, though he isn't as explosive as him. Ash can be chill, unless it's Fraser, who provokes it on purpose. They're besties, don't worry about it. He has years of repressed everything to work through, and he expresses fear and sadness through anger, because something toxic masculinity he only imposes on himself to compensate, yada yada. So there's just a lot of rage going on there. Being a Bakugo clone also comes with what I like to call the Bakugo complex, which is a superiority complex and an inferiority complex at the same time. Except Achilles only got the inferiority part. He feels the need to prove himself, especially physically. He needs to be stronger than all his peers because man or whatever. This isn't particularly hard because all his friends are like regular ass people that enjoy sports as a hobby. They have a club at school where they spar and stuff, like a martial arts group, but more anime. And then Clyde shows up and could clearly kick his ass, but won't, and that pisses him the fuck off. Did I mention Ash is demon racist? I'm joking, kind of. Not really. He stops being irrationally distrustful after like a day. He's shockingly empathetic and considerate. He might be like my least morally gray character, or like the one most willing to change for the better. Other personality traits include homophobic, gay, illiterate until he was 16, surprisingly not transphobic, and alpha with omega tendencies, whatever that means. And this is the part where I list off other things about him. He's averse to blood, lochiophobia, which is an amazing trait to have as a vampire. He has passed out multiple times from not drinking blood for a couple of days. Him and Lazuli know each other from his semi-frequent visits to the nurse's office. Les calls him the problem child. He's 20. Vampires don't have any weird age shenanigans, they just live longer, until about 200. Along with martial arts and working out, he also likes ice skating and photography. His older sister is actually a professional photographer for His older sister is actually a professional photographer for fashion magazines, something he would also like to do, though for now he mostly does landscapes. He doesn't have any abilities, not a special ability, or any type abilities. And there's something he can't talk about under any circumstance. But it's okay, he wouldn't want to anyway, and he shouldn't have to. I mean, it's not like it'll become incredibly important to his life again. And here are his finished drawings. He has 5 layers, the greedy bitch. I like the pose from the old PNG. It's less stiff and shows off more, but what can you do? Except draw him again.
I really wanted to be a dentist.
How's that going?
I'm a marine biologist.
Stephania is my problem child. My beloved problem child. Love her, but she tests me sometimes. It took me so long to come up with a design that I liked even half as much as the others. I redesigned her twice. I didn't like this first one, probably because I don't like this drawing. But I also thought it was too dark and the orange felt like an afterthought because orange happens to be my least favorite color. And I didn't like this corset thing, or the tie, or the random white blouse that stands out too much, or the uninspired hair, or the nothing skirt and shoes, or the random fur at the bottom of the jacket. Basically, I only like the belt and fluffy jacket combo, and her hair danglies. The dark palette did give her Batman vibes though. It probably took me so long because I didn't really have a good vision for her as a character. While I was doing these redesigns, her role in the story changed quite a bit, and with that she also got a new personality. So I couldn't really base her new design off her old design since I wanted to take her in a different direction now. And her old design was basically nothing. None of the clothes stayed. She might be one of my older OCs from the Seth and Lazuli era, depending on if this drawing is of her. I'm pretty sure it is. If it isn't, then she was made along with Ash and Clyde. Though I've always treated her as part of the old ones. They're kind of a trio. You may be looking at these old drawings and going, hey, who the fuck is that? Those aren't the same character. Yeah, she's definitely gone through the most drastic changes since her creation out of everyone here, both in design and personality. From the sarcastic girl best friend TM, to a more warm and motherly eldest daughter, to a pathetic loser burnt-out workaholic cop that hates her job but won't quit because she's never known anything else and justice is her whole personality. Her first clothing layer is her comfy clothing, just a t-shirt and shorts with leggings that she wears under her work clothes, so she can just throw all that on the chair and crash on the couch without having to change. She's gotta be efficient, you know? Time management is important. The previous redesign has dreadlocks, but in the design before that she has an afro, and I am an afro enjoyer. The style works particularly well for her. She's a werewolf, her last name is Eclipse, moon imagery, you get it. I don't particularly like how I drew it here. It kinda looks like a flat disc of hair. I have to figure out how I want to stylize curls, it changes every time I draw. I'm also not sure about the bang situation. In the old PNG I didn't draw her with any, but I wanted at least one of her eyes to be covered without her glasses on, because of the whole eye thing. But I don't like what I did here. Maybe I could cover both of them like with Clyde. Some of her old designs actually do that. But unlike Clyde, she does need to see out of them, and it wouldn't be very practical for her ability. Also, her design is purposefully symmetrical, except for one detail that comes later, and the bangs kind of ruin that. I might have to semi-ignore the eye thing for her, because I do like the no bangs look more. Now that I'm watching the speed paint again, I am realizing that her hands are too big. That wasn't on purpose, but it could be. The Victorian style boots are here for style points. They aren't practical, nor do they have to be. Her job at Sayu, she works for Sayu by the way, doesn't require her to be physically active. They don't send her out too often because her special ability is way too valuable to them. So for her, looking put together is more important. Which is also why her hair is well maintained, even though personality-wise she'd rather not deal with it. She'd probably just want to be bald. Maybe I'll shave her head at some point, once she's less freaky about justice. Now for her second layer. Her shirt has a rounded collar and hem because I wanted to keep her design round because moon round. In my notes I wrote skirt because woman. I wanted her to be more feminine, and I was inspired by a vaguely historical clothing for her design, hence the boots, though that mostly got scrapped. I also think wearing shorts under a skirt is much easier than another pair of pants. I really wanted to give her more ruffles and lace and details, but do you want to draw ruffles and lace and details? Didn't think so. And another character kind of took all the detail and historical inspiration, so I don't feel the need to do it with her anymore. Of course she gets a tie, because she does work for Sahu. Now I hope you didn't think there were random dreadlocks on the side of her face for no reason. They're here for a very important reason, and that is hair danglies. This is probably my favorite part of her design. The left has a ring with one piece of hair hanging from it, but the right has a more complicated ring where two pieces hang off of each side. Like the Justice Arcana. Genius, right? I'm over-exaggerating, obviously, but I do think it's neat. This is also the one asymmetrical detail I was talking about earlier. I gave her Gojo glasses because is she the strongest because she's Stephania Eclipse? Or is she Stephania Eclipse because she's the strongest? That's not lore, I just thought it would be funny to say. I've never watched JJK. Unless she wears them for practical reasons. Like I mentioned, her ability is valuable and it's very important to keep everything about it a secret. What it does, how it works, how it's triggered, etc. When her ability is active, her eyes show it, and we can't have that. This obviously still isn't enough layers, so I gave her a crop jacket. This is also so that there's less going on around the hair danglies. Like there isn't the mess of the tie and collar behind them, and it lets them stand out more. And last but not least, I had to give her a big fluffy jacket. It's not colored yet, but everything so far has been some shade of dark brown. And my main complaint about the last design was that it was too dark and not colorful enough. This jacket is going to be bright orange. It will make it obvious that she is the orange OC. She used to be the purple one and then the yellow one, swapping with Lazuli and Seth as I mentioned. Her ending up being orange was just perfect for her Eclipse theme. Who I gave which color doesn't hold any meaning, like in the color meaning / psychology way. Color meanings are so vague that I'm pretty sure you could connect them to the characters' personalities if you wanted to, but I never thought about the colors from that angle. That isn't to say colors have no meaning in the story. They do, just contained in and to the story. And welcome back to everyone's favorite game show again. Which AFMO character is this OC based on? I'll give you 3 guesses for this one. She used to just be Aphmau, peppy, outgoing, nice, and a little mischievous, though she was a bit more sarcastic and mean. She also always had some sort of cat inspiration or vibes, I guess, which is where Michi comes in, though I never drew her as a cat girl, except for that one time. Hold on. Stephanie Serafina? Straight? What was I doing? Her name changed to Stephanie Angel. Probably because I forgot her name and just didn't check. But then I reconnected with a friend who has her first name and I felt weird about it, and the name Angel has implications now. So at some point I changed it to Stephania Eclipse, probably around the time she became a werewolf instead of a cat girl. In the lore, cat people don't exist anymore. That's just how it turned out. I'm gonna be so real, it's mostly because there's no word for cat person like there is for dog person. Like what? Werecat? Aphmau called them Mifwa, and I have no idea if that's a well-recognized term. Could I have made up a term? Absolutely. Did I want to? No. And it felt a little redundant to have both werewolves and werecats. Werewolves are already my most neglected type. Imagine if I had 2 of them. I say they're my most neglected type because I'm too much of a coward to make them furries. So the only distinct physical feature they have are the ears. Steph's eye are a family thing, not a werewolf thing. And their type abilities also aren't the most inspired. The only 2 I can remember off the top of my head is night vision and a stronger sense of smell. And that might honestly be the only 2 tabs they have right now. Neither of those even reference the most iconic aspect of werewolves, which is, you know, turning into a wolf. Having my werewolves actually turn into some variety of wolf feels off. Maybe it's just too fantasy for my fantasy story. Like, demons having two forms, A-okay, but turning to wolves? That's where I draw the line. It's just, all I can think about is, why would evolution do that? How did evolution do that? Who fucked the wolf? Be honest with me. Anyway, that's a whole thing I have to figure out. Or not. They could just kind of be lame. Nothing wrong with that. Though, now that I think about it, vampires also don't have the most spectacular tabs. I guess my problem is that the types are too similar. Vampires need to drink blood, so that distinguishes them. Werewolves don't have anything like that, except for being mostly nocturnal, I guess. But half the population are healers, who usually sleep around 8 hours during the night, and the other half is vampires and werewolves. Vampires aren't necessarily nocturnal, they just sleep less, about 2 to 5 hours, and when they do, depends on their schedule. Werewolves are basically the opposite of healers. Sleep during the day, go out at night. And then like 1% are demons. I don't know, they can do whatever they want. So shops and stuff are open 24 hours anyway. Being nocturnal just isn't a unique enough trait. Maybe I could give them tails. That is something I do like better about Steph's first redesign. The fur overcoat gives slightly more werewolf vibes. You know, Ash is my classic vampire, Seth is my more obvious demon, Lazuli is like just a guy. I'll have to make someone else my obvious werewolf. Maybe Travis? I haven't redesigned him yet. He's another SciU worker. Maybe I'll do a video about designing/redesigning my important side characters. Speaking of which, I should probably say what she actually does at SciU and what her special ability is. Just a reminder, SciU mostly handles high-profile criminal cases where the person has a powerful or hard-to-contain ability. Stephania's main role is as an interrogator, because she can read minds. Now, the people she interrogates usually aren't, you know, the most upstanding citizens. I'm sure you can imagine that constantly reading the minds of these people isn't the best for the old noggin. This is why she clings to the concept of justice so much, to separate herself from them. Though I'd say her sense of justice is just a little warped. Only interacting with the worst of the worst will do that to you. Basically, to her, anyone who commits a crime is straight up not a person anymore. They have forfeit their humanity. This is again to separate herself. She is human. Humans are good. These people are not. Therefore, they are not human. She does recognize that different crimes should be treated differently. The severity and context obviously matter. Stealing a candy bar and murder are on 2 different levels. The thing is, she only deals with murder. Petty theft isn't even a consideration. For her work, she needs to be able to go in there, get the information she needs, and discard any other thoughts that person might have. It's funny, her personality before this was basically the exact opposite. Reading their thoughts made her a more sympathetic and understanding person. Additional info about her. She has 2 brothers, who are coincidentally Ash's friends. She has a passing interest in sewing, though never has the time or energy to do anything with it. Her apartment looks like this. She's officially been working at SciU for 12 years, and she's 25. Here are the final drawings. I had a lot more to say about her than I thought I did.
I actually kin Kokichi. Who do you kin? Nagito?
Remember how I said I redesigned them specifically for the now freezing cold winter setting? Ignore that for this section. Kora is not as old as the others, but they also aren't as new as I think they are. I honestly don't know where they came from. But they're now part of the gang, even if half the cast, doesn't like them. I think Kora is newer than they actually are because they, shocker, aren't based on an AFMO character. Or any character that I can remember at least. Which is kind of wild considering how strong their design was right from the jump. It has barely changed because, I mean, it's iconic. And yet I have no clue where the idea for them came from. Wait! Bendy. I would not elaborate. 2 things that you may have noticed about the design: the mask, and also missing arm. The mask is a prosthetic they made themselves. Look, they have like 10 million hobbies. One of them is probably specifically making masks for themselves. If they have a face under there is up for interpretation. The reason they don't have one of their forearms is because when I first drew them, I didn't want to draw the other arm. The reason they're missing one in universe, I don't know. That's Kora's business, not mine. I don't have to know everything. I tried my hand at drawing muscles. I've always kind of drawn them as more muscular than the others, but it's barely noticeable. I like the way the line art looks, but I don't think I rendered the abs very well. The burn scar is also none of my business. It has a cool shape though, and I think I actually did a decent job at coloring it. I'm back at it again with a crop top, this time in combination with a turtleneck, my 2 favorite things. This is something from their old design. A detail I didn't put in was the straps, or cutouts depending on how you look at it. They had them because Joseph Joestar. I'm a little sad I didn't add it. I thought it'd be too much with all the other strappy elements. The short shorts are probably the point where you get why I said to ignore the winter ready rule. It's for fashion, alright? A hoe never gets cold. Bro got burned so bad they can't feel the cold anymore. I wanted to invoke 2000 scene in their design, so tight shirt, shorts, asymmetrical socks, tall Converse-like shoes, fishnets, we've got it all. Though their design isn't as colorful as seen. Just like all the other designs, their palette is limited to neutrals and their designated color, which is red, though they are definitely the least colorful. The white is more present than red. They mirror and complement Steph in that way. She's mostly dark brown, which technically is dark orange, but we're gonna ignore that because brown is my favorite color and orange is my least favorite. I remember having a very specific way of drawing their hair, even down to which markers I used. I still have them. At some point I realized that the prosthetic has to stay on somehow, which resulted in me drawing their hair like this for years. Until this redesign. Best decision of my life. This is the greatest hairstyle of all time. I was inspired by a visual K rather than scene. I think VK looks sick, and if I cared more about my appearance, I would do my hair like this. After writing that line, I got such violent dysphoria, I had to stop working on the script for the rest of the day, and the next day after that. And that's how you know it's a fire design! Even with the masks, they are not exempt from the covering at least one eye rule. For fun, I gave them a belly button piercing, which is also a reference to Jolene, so I got at least one JoJo reference. What's better than 1 crop top? 2 crop tops. This time a button-up, which is almost as good as a turtleneck. They also get a tie because they work at Sayu. Kora's a field agent. They're in Nox to support Seth and Stephania. They are introduced later than the others, and they're here for plot things I don't want to talk about. What's that? What's the black blob coming out of their arm stump? Well, you see, and you won't believe this, but that's actually an arm. That's a stupid way to write that. Kora is half demon, and can also use shadow manipulation, or whatever I called it. I already mentioned this in Seth's section, and that's what that thing is made of. It does cool things, like being a blob, so I don't have to draw a proper hand. I think Kora being a demon is pretty obvious from their design. What's less obvious is that they're also a healer. All people are multiple types, but most of the time only one set of characteristics and abilities presents itself. Usually the abilities and visual characteristics are of the same type, but it's not rare for them not to match. I have another character called Ralph. He looks like a werewolf, but he has healer type abilities. That's what I mean by them not matching. What is rare is an actual mix, where the person gets characteristics and abilities from both of their parents' types. Kora, physically, just looks like a guy. Could be either healer or a human form demon. But they don't have a demon form and therefore only one heart, so probably more like a healer. Should I give them a tail? Demon forms have like a classic demon tail. What if I just gave them one to have more of a mix in appearance? And horns? Or would that be too much? That's basically a whole demon form and they already have the mask. I'm getting distracted. Ability-wise, they can do the shadow thing and also general healing. I'm a big fan of the leg warmers and matching arm warmer. Maybe those are the only parts that get cold. They are the parts that aren't burned. I wanted the fur on them to have a different texture than the others, like that fur that sticks out straight. I don't know how well that comes across. Like everyone else, they also get a jacket. Well, a hoodie. I imagine it's one of those that's overly soft inside. It has chunky stitches everywhere, like my hoodie has on one sleeve. They did this themselves to add some flair on an otherwise pretty plain piece of clothing. They have a hint of chains, just to connect them to the other demons, and because they also support Seth's little brother's fashion choices. I have no idea why I gave them so many stars. The JoJo referenced belly piercing had to be integrated somehow. Ash also has some star motifs, though his comes from a necklace he used to have. Don't ask me the significance of stars in Noxas. I didn't even notice it was a visual theme until literally writing the script. Stars are probably just a common theme in Nox, since the people have a very nice view of them. Don't know. Look, Kora has a lot of things going on that I don't know about. Many things aren't my business. By the way, I've been calling Kora this whole time, but if you paid attention to the little transition, or looked at their old character sheet here, it says Korander. I may or may not have legitimately completely forgotten that Kora is not their full name for about 3 years. I don't think I've ever referred to them as Korander. I am keeping it though. I think it's fun and it makes their demon heritage more obvious, if the last name didn't already do that. Demon names are me basically making fun sounds with my mouth. Kora Ichtaca just rolls off the tongue. Speaking of their last name, there are 2 spellings, either Ichtaca or Ichitaca. I usually go with Ichtaca, but it depends on pronunciation. Kora's role in the story changed a little bit with this redesign. Before, they were actually a classmate of Ash and Clyde, basically a random person that happened to get wrapped up in the plot by mostly coincidence. They were a bit out of place, like an outsider to the group. No one really accepted them as part of the crew, at least not for a good while after they were introduced. It did create this fun dynamic of them trying to get more involved, but being rejected, either outright or unintentionally. They were a very peppy and outgoing and loud character, so their motivation to keep trying was to actually become friends, and also possibly being in great danger that no one is fully telling them about because they came in halfway through the movie and everyone else either keeps forgetting they don't have the same context or don't have the time to explain it because they are currently watching the movie, or simply don't know how to explain what happened so far, and honestly, they're kind of annoying and it makes some people uncomfortable. Kora is now a Sayu agent, meaning they are much more involved from the start, but that dynamic of wanting to get closer and being rejected still persists. They have context, someone gave them a plot summary, but they still haven't actually watched the movie. They just weren't there. Even Stephania is more part of the group. Yeah, she was 5 minutes late and slept through a few scenes, but she was there. Of course, the plot keeps plotting, and they also experience the horrors with everyone else. It just takes a while. A gradual shift in everyone's view of them. There are a few reasons for making them an agent instead of a classmate. 1, to give them an actual reason for showing up in the first place. And 2, Yuri. I changed Stephania, and therefore I had to change Kora. For characters to click with me, the character themselves has to be something I find interesting, and they need to have a fun dynamic with at least one other character. The definition of fun may vary. Kora was fine as a character. They had something going on. The mask, the arm, you know. And their relationships also had some interesting things. Ash fucking hated them, and then they became besties. Clyde was nice and didn't mind their loud personality, but their interest in him being a demon and wanting to learn more about that side of themselves seemed to make him uncomfortable. He doesn't really want to talk about it. Seth could barely look at them. Not because of anything they did, they don't know each other. It's fully a Seth problem, and it frustrated Kora that they couldn't be around each other for long enough for Seth to explain his deal. Laz was chill. They're chill. And Stephania, well, it was just kind of a bland but wholesome romance. That, along with Stephania not being a character I found very interesting, is why I changed her. With Steph's new personality, her relationship with Kora became more adversarial, and making them work partners made sense, and put them on equal ground. It's the classic clashing personalities. Steph is the jaded noir detective that takes everything seriously, and Kora is her idiot partner that is too silly and full of whimsy for her liking. Kora doesn't like being antagonized for literally no reason, so obviously they start to play up some more annoying aspects of their personality to piss her off. Is Kora just Joseph Joestar? Their dynamics with the others are basically the same. Ash thinks they're annoying, Clyde is nice, and Kora is still interested in getting to know him, but has some knowledge about his life that makes them press less. Seth still won't look at them, and Laz, he's chill. They're chill. Kora's personality is mostly the same, though they've mellowed out a bit since I'm writing them as an adult instead of a teenager or young adult. Still passionate and energetic and enthusiastic and not the fastest learner and maybe a little bit scatterbrained. I'd say their most important traits are their creativity, optimism, and empathy. They're actually kind of a mentor. Emphasis on the kind of. Basically, they go around and subtly influence people into making art by very directly asking them about their hobbies and interests, followed by making the person show them, and then somewhat forcibly participating in it. You are going to tell them about your passions and/or passing interests, and you are going to have fun. Actually, you know how I was saying Lazuli is the most like me? So much so that my friends joke about him being my self-insert, which he isn't. He isn't. Kora might just be my power fantasy. My goal. Just like Joseph Joestar, they have a special ability called illusions. It's exactly what it sounds like. They can just create illusions. It's as OP as it sounds. There are basically no limitations to this other than Kora's ability to make them. It can be visual, audio, sensory, like anything. The only thing it can't do is directly harm someone. They can show a vision of a wound and the pain that comes with it, but the wound isn't actually real. I was going for an Okuyasu character, where the OP-ness is balanced out by the user's intelligence, but like, Kora is really creative and that enhances the ability. However, the illusions don't make themselves. To make them convincing, Kora did have to observe and understand, like, a lot. You can't recreate light or color or sounds or smells or texture or whatever without at least experiencing it. The visual part is kind of like animation, if that helps anyone. Anyway, here is a very short list of fun facts about them. They have lived for 80 years. What that actually translates to is unclear. Being half demon kind of messes with your aging. Basically, they're an adult. And the way their mask emotes is through the use of their ability. They used to try and make a whole realistic face, but that takes a lot of effort and a lot of understanding that they didn't used to have, and it freaked people out, so they just went with a mask instead. This might be my favorite redesign, and I will be giving him a deep voice so I get the maximum amount of dysphoria while creating their scenes. And here they are all together. I knew I had a lot to say about my OCs and their world purely based on the fact that they've been my default thing to think about for 8 years, but I didn't think I had that much to say. Whenever I do a video about the side characters, it will be shorter. Thanks for sitting through all of it, and if this video somehow got you interested in my OCs, there is no other content about them. But there will be. I'm going to make Baujin dolls of them, and already have of Roy, who is another character that technically shows up in Noxas. Otherwise, I don't have any content planned about them, except for the actual comic, obviously. Well, I should stop saying comic. It'll be more of a web series? That's such a vague term. It'll be 3D and slightly animated, but focusing more on singular poses or frames. I don't know how to describe it, probably because I haven't even done a proof of concept and I can't think of anything that is exactly what I'm imagining. Like Underverse, I guess? Anyway, that's all. I'm done now. Bye bye.